Okay, directors, we're going to get started here in just a minute. Good afternoon, directors, and welcome to the inaugural meeting of the Comox Valley Regional District Board. As this meeting gets underway, I want to first acknowledge that we're conducting this meeting on the traditional unceded territory of the Comox First Nation. My name is Jake Martins, and as the Deputy Corporate Legislative Officer, I am pleased to call this meeting to order. And as the board knows, membership on the board of directors consists of the electoral area directors representing areas A, B, and C, and the municipal directors from the city of Courtenay, the town of Comox, and the village of Cumberland. In this regard, I do want to welcome the one new member to the board, which is Director Vicki Brown from the village of Cumberland. There are no other changes to the board from the member municipalities or from the electoral areas, so welcome, Director Brown. In accordance with the Local Government Act and the Board Procedure Bylaw, the first order of business at the inaugural meeting is the conduct of the election of the chair and vice chair. I will begin this process by calling for nominations for the position of chair. Any director may put forward another director's name through a nomination, and each time a director is nominated, we will record their last name. I will call for nominations 3 times, and at the close of nominations, I will ask each nominee in reverse order to which they were nominated if they will let their name stand for election. If more than one director is nominated, each candidate will have 3 minutes to provide a campaign-style presentation. Following the speeches, I will ask that you print the last name of the selection for the chair on the colored ballot, the green colored ballot that I've handed out to you all. Should that be required. The ballots will be collected by James Warren, Lucy Wacharek, and myself as statutory officers, and we will count the ballots and then announce the results. If there are more than 2 candidates and no candidate receives a clear majority of votes on the first ballot, the candidate with the lowest number of votes will be removed from the ballot and the voting will be conducted again. This process will continue until there is 1 candidate who receives a clear majority of the ballots cast. If there are 2 tie votes, the board will have to pass a resolution to either determine the election of the chair by the drawing of lots or start the process over again. The process for the election of the vice chair is the same as I've just outlined. However, there will be 2 minutes provided for the campaign style presentation should that be required. Before we proceed any further, are there any questions regarding the election process? Seeing none, so I will then start by calling for nominations for the position of chair. And I see that Director Hillian is first up. Director Hillian.
Thanks. I'd like to nominate Director Cole Hamilton, please.
Thank you. And next I will go to Director Grieve.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Richard Hardy.
Thank you. I will call a second time for any nominations for the position of chair. And I will call a third and final time for any nominations for the position of chair. Seeing no further, Director Hardy, do you allow your name to stand?
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Thank you. And Director Cole Hamilton, do you allow your name to stand? Great, thank you. Okay, so I've confirmed the nominees, and so we will now conduct the speeches, in which 3 minutes will be provided for each candidate. We will start with Director Hardy, and we'll turn the microphone over to you.
Imut koyin kwannepe. Imut namuguis etnon. Richard Hardy etnon. Good afternoon. I think I make a great chair for the Comox Valley Regional District. One of the big items I think for the Comox Valley Regional District or priorities for the CVRD is in regards to reconciliation with Indigenous peoples and enhancing that working relationship with the Comox First Nation. I feel with my involvement in the Comox First Nation for four years on their council, and being involved with the CVRD for the last year, I think I bring a lot of expertise in regards to enhancing that relationship with the Comox First Nation moving forward. Also, in regards to, again, the executive, I think it's very important for the executive council to have representation from the Electoral Area Services Committee. What we didn't see last year was that. Again, I have concerns with regards to the board moving forward in regards to making sure at the end of the day that the rural areas are considered in regards to decision making. But I found in the past is recently we had a director from the city of Courtenay that wasn't in favor of trying to direct some funds towards Area A with regards to funding for their sewage conveyance. And the response that came out was that it didn't really benefit the city of Courtenay. So consequently, we wouldn't be in favor of this. So I've seen a number of different times where the city of Courtenay's interest maybe might supersede other rural areas or communities. So I'd like to, again, at the end of the day, when we are coming into this boardroom, that we all come in with a CBRD board hat on and not a city of Courtenay or village of Cumberland or a town of Comox hat. So those are my comments. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Director Hardy. And next I'll turn the microphone over to Director Wilkel Hamilton.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jake. And thanks very much, Richard, for your remarks. So I'm putting my name forward for chair of the board. I've had the honor of sitting in this board for 4 years, and for the last year of serving as your chair. And I think there are kind of two main sets of skills that you need to have if you're going to be chair. And the first set kind of take place inside this room. It's the way we work together with each other. And I've consistently, since I got elected, I've looked for opportunities to work with and learn from elected officials from around this community, from across the province and across the country. I think we can all learn more when we are working with groups with differing views, groups like FCM and UBCM, where you'd get a wide range of perspectives and need to work to build consensus. I think rebuilding consensus in this board is a really, really important part of what needs to happen over the next couple of years. And the other piece, I think, is advocating for the regional district, speaking with one voice. As you're saying, we are one community, or we are one region. And through the experience I've had and the work that I've chosen to take on and help cities lead, or with Climate Caucus, or as a director of UBCM or FCM, I've had the opportunity to advocate frequently on and to senior levels of government or other orders of government for those interests. And more recently at UBCM, when the chair was unable to attend, I had the opportunity to actually lead the CBRD's delegations with a number of ministers and senior officials. So I had a chance to sit in that chair and stand in those shoes. And I guess I just would like to say I've enjoyed working with you. I know that we've had a challenging year over the last 12 months. There's been a lot that's gone on. I look forward to trying to build consensus, bring us together, and have us speak with one voice as one region. And thanks for the time you spent listening to me. And I know, however this turns out, I'll look forward to working with you all over the next year. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Cole Hamilton. So we will now proceed with voting. So again, each of you should have a green ballot. We'd ask that you write the last name of the candidate you wish to select, and we'll come around and you can enter your votes into the box, which, as everyone can see around the table, is empty. Yes. Thank you for your patience, Director. So following counting of the ballots, I'm pleased to announce that Director Cole Hamilton has been elected chair of the board. Thank you. Moved and seconded that we destroy the ballots. Any discussion on the matter? I see Director Hardy's lights.
Yeah, if I could, I'd like to congratulate Director Cole Hamilton on being the chair for the next year. Congratulations. Good job.
So with no further lights on, all those in favor of the motion to destroy the ballots? Any opposed? Carried. So we will now move on to the process for the vice chair. So bear with me for 1 second. A second. So unless there's any questions on the process, that we'll conduct it the same way, except there'll be 2 minutes provided for campaign style speeches, provided that there is more than one candidate nominated. So with that, I will call for nominations for the position of vice chair, and I see that Director Hillian is.
Thanks. I'd like to nominate Director Hardy.
Thank you. I see Director Grant is next.
Well, I was just going to nominate Director Hardy, so now I'll have to pick somebody else. No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you. And Director McCullough.
Thanks. I'd like to nominate Director Kerr.
Director Kerr, thank you. I will call a second time for any nominations for the position of vice chair. And I'll call a third and final time for any positions of vice chair. And with that, Director Kerr, do you allow your name to stand?
I would.
Thank you. And Director Hardy, do you allow your name to stand?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Okay, so we will proceed with 2-minute presentations, starting with Director Kerr.
Great, thank you.
Oh.
Thank you. And thanks to those around the table who've tapped me on the shoulder and suggested I put my name forward for this. I'd like to tell you a little story. When I was 10 years old, my dad took me to a toboggan hill. And we arrived and I stopped still in my snow boots as I looked up at the hill and I saw complete chaos on the hill. There were kids sledding every which way. The bigger kids were running into the little kids. Injuries were happening. Fights were breaking out. And I just stood there and was just in shock. And, you know, I stood at the bottom and I looked up and I went to the top and looked down and really tried to get a sense of what was happening. So I spent about 10 minutes talking to the younger kids and I told them, you know, if you walk up the sides, you won't get hit. And then I spent about 10 minutes talking to the older kids and saying, you know, maybe you could be a leader and encourage your friends to slide down the middle and walk up the sides. You could go faster. You could hit those jumps faster. You could go farther. So it took some time, but after about 30 minutes or so, slowly, progressively, things started to change. People were sliding down the middle, walking up the sides, sliding down the middle, walking up the sides. There were no more injuries. People were having fun. Kids were going faster, and there were fewer arguments. So after about 45 minutes of doing this, finally, my father said to me, you know, you can go on the toboggan, son. And finally, I took my first slide down the hill and then we left. So the thing is, I really enjoyed that process of seeing the complexity, being a servant leader. No one knew what I was doing. No one knew that I was trying to be a catalyst for these changes. It was behind the scenes. I like being strategic. I like serving others and encouraging others to be leaders and others to do good work. So I would hope to support this board. I would hope to support the chair and each one of you going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Kerr. And now Director Hardy.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Dr. Kerr, for your thoughts there and your remarks in regards to the support that you received from your father when you were a youth. I guess we're thinking about my father today. One of the things I'd bring to your attention is he received the Queen's Jubilee Medal for community service. He served nearly 5 decades for the Comox First Nation as a counselor. So I think over those 5 decades of spending time with him, I learned a lot about leadership as well. When we talked about tenacity, resiliency as an Indigenous person, somebody that helped the Comox First Nation get their shellfish company, Pantellat Seafoods, up and going, we were given less than 10% of a chance of being successful. And we were successful, and we managed to do a lot of great things through that process. Through that time, I learned to work a lot with local, provincial, and federal governments, agencies, ministers, deputy ministers, CEOs, directors, assistant directors, you name it. So I think I do too bring a lot of leadership and great qualities to this table. A lot of you fully understand and recognize the fact that I was the chair for the Comox Valley Economic Development Society for 4 years and was 2 years as past president as well. So a counselor with the Comox First Nation, again, going back to the commitment from the Comox Valley Regional District in regards to reconciliation. And a lot of you have heard me talk about reconciliation in the past. With reconciliation comes acceptance and inclusiveness, but also from an Indigenous perspective, that need for participation. So I'll just leave my remarks there and wish you all the best, Dr. Kerr, in the vote.
Thank you very much, Director. So we'll again proceed with voting. As you can see, the box has been emptied, so I'll come around and collect once again. Okay, thank you for your patience, directors. Following the counting of the votes, I'm pleased to announce Director Kerr has been elected Vice Chair of the Comox Valley Regional District Board. With that, I'd ask for yet another motion just to destroy the ballots. Hillian and Cole Hamilton. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. So with that, thank you, directors, for your participation in this, and I am pleased to turn it over to Chair Cole Hamilton.
Okay, thanks very much. It's interesting to be sitting in this chair. Thank you all and for your your trust in me, and don't have necessarily remarks from the chair, but there were two things I was thinking of. One is because of this unusual order of this meeting, we managed to not make a land acknowledgement. That we, so sorry, I was obviously a little nervous and did not catch that. One thing I wanted to carry on is something that the previous chair, Chair Kettler, did, which was to begin with the articles of UNDRIP and then to move on with the articles of the calls for action from the TRC. And through going through the last agenda, I believe we were at item 34 was of the calls to action was the last one that we read. And I'll just continue that with call number 35. We call upon the federal government to eliminate barriers to the creation of additional Aboriginal healing lodges within the federal correctional system. And with that, we'll get to the business of the meeting. And I think we may take a motion to vary the agenda so that Director Rice, we can deal with the matter that involves you, which is 9 and 10. So, Director Grieve moving to those that we varied the agenda. Can I get some seconded by Grant? Any opposed? Okay, so we'll vary the agenda and we'll move on to item 8. And if anyone wants, Director Grieve, use your lights on to move that item.
Yes, please.
Okay, so lights. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, the tricky buttons for the red lights.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to move number 9, that bylaw 805, Black Creek Oyster Bay Local Water Service Area Partial Tax Bylaw 2009, Amendment number 2, and be moved for first and second reading.
Second. Whatever you want.
Okay, with that, all those in favor? Oh, just areas C and D. So, okay.
Move third.
Second.
Third has been seconded, and all those in favor? That's unanimous. And is that and number 10? And Director Grieve, if you want to move that.
Yes, I'd like to move that bylaw 806, the Black Creek Oyster Bay Water Service Regulation Fees and Charges Bylaw 2008, Amendment number 12, be given first and second reading concurrently.
Second.
In first and seconded, all those in favor? All right, and that passes unanimously, both. And then
Third reading.
third,
Second.
okay, third reading, and all those in favor of third reading. Okay, and that also passes unanimously. Thanks, Director Rice. And we'll move back to the order of the agenda as it was. That's
Just on a point of personal privilege, I'd just like to acknowledge Director Hardy for putting his name forth for both positions. Although, you know, the results didn't turn out that way, I know that it's important to all of us to work together and bring the areas and the municipalities together. And as you said in your initial remarks, to speak with one voice, but I just wanted to express gratitude to Director Hardy for stepping forward. Thanks.
I would echo that, and thanks, Director Helene, for making those remarks. Next is the in-camera recommendation, which is up on the screen. It's not actually on my written agenda. So that's, you can all see it there. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, that's unanimous. And any opposed to let's be moved and seconded. Any opposed to the adoption of minutes? Okay, that passes unanimously. And on to reports. And the first is the Code of Conduct report, and I'll pass that over to staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jake Martins, our General Manager of Corporate Services, will be able to provide a brief update on this this Code of Conduct, which is presented here, part of the policy to review this document annually. So Jake, over to you.
Thank you, James, through the chair. Yeah, so the policy provides for an annual review at the inaugural meeting, which is a best practice certainly recommended by those in the industry. And so the board has been following that policy since its adoption. The board will also recall that on October the 17th, staff brought forward a report to consider a fairly substantial amendment to the policy. And at that time, the board had deferred consideration to a future meeting. So at this moment, staff is working on that report, planning to bring it forward within the next few meetings. And so the board could certainly engage in any kind of discussion or consideration of the policy at this time, or you may wish to save that until the report comes forward on those proposed amendments. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'm pleased to answer any questions.
Thanks, Chair. I just wondered if you had any words of wisdom for us as we embark on a new term in relation to conduct.
I would refer you to the Code of Conduct policy. It provides a great resource and certainly provides for many good practices and good conduct. So I'll leave it at that.
Well said on the fly there, Jake, and appreciate the report. Do we need a motion for receipt on that? Okay, so I'll take a motion for receipt. Okay, all those in favor? Excellent, that passes unanimously. And next is appointment to the Vancouver Island Regional Library Board. And I'll pass that on to staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This correspondence comes to you from the Vancouver Island Regional Library Board, and it's an annual request that they make of the regional district for membership. As you can see from their requested action, they're looking for one member and one alternate, both of whom are to be electoral area directors. So I leave it with you.
Director Green.
I'd like to nominate Director Arbor for the board.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, sorry.
But I didn't ask for. I didn't call the question.
Receive correspondence.
Yes,
I'll move that.
Okay. All those in favor of receipt? Excellent. Thank you. And now any nominations? Yes.
Like to nominate Director Arbor.
Director Arbor, do you accept that nomination? Excellent. And we're also looking for an alternate. Any nominations for an alternate? Someone's got to do it.
I nominate either Director Grieve or Director Hardy, whichever one wants to do it.
Okay, process of elimination. So who's up for it? Director Grieve or Director Hardy? Do either of you accept that? Director Grieve?
I accept that, and I have a short acceptance speech here.
All right, thanks very much. So we have Director Arbor as the member and Director Grieve as the alternate member. And thank you. Move the recommendation.
Second.
Seconded, and all those in favor? Any opposed? And that passes unanimously. And next is the appointment to the Municipal Finance Authority, and I'll pass that. Thank you very much. Motion for receipt, and I'll pass it to staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And very similar to the last item, this is a request from the MFA to appoint a member and an alternate. And there is no restriction on this in terms of where the director comes from. So the membership and the alternate are open to any board member.
Dr. Morin.
I'd like to nominate Director McCollum.
Second.
We are still on receipt. Yeah.
Sorry.
We haven't voted on receipt. I'll get this soon.
So
Okay.
we have, haven't we? No, we
No.
haven't. Okay.
Okay, there's so the receipt motion on the floor. All those in favor? Receipt, and then we'll go to Wendy and we'll do this again.
Well, someone said to me last week that when everything's sloppy like this, that means that we're doing things transparently and we haven't like predetermined things. So so I'm gonna stick to that story. So I would like to nominate Director McCollum. Thank
And
you.
I'll say.
Okay, Director McCollum, do you accept the nomination? And we also need an alternate.
Who's the alternate currently?
Director Hillian,
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to nominate Director Grieve.
Director Grieve, do you accept that nomination? Sorry.
Always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
I'll take that as a yes. All right, so that's the recommendation. All those in, thank you. Move the recommendation. All those in favor? Any opposed? And that passes unanimously. Okay, thank you very much. And then we're going to move on to recommendations for the EASC. And we'll start with recommendation 1.
Move.
Second.
All right, this is a vote of the areas A, B, and C. All those in favor? And all right, and that passes unanimously. Recommendation 2.
Move to.
So, Director Grieve, are you confused?
No, this is just from yesterday. I'm okay.
Okay, good to hear. Thanks. All right. So recommendation 2 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor, it's a vote of the areas. And moving on to recommendation 3.
Second.
All right, that's been moved and seconded. And any discussion on that? All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Recommendation 4.
Second.
All right, any discussion on that? Director Arbor? Sorry.
Yeah, thanks. Just for the interest of municipal directors, you may encounter the same issue in your jurisdictions. This has to do with us basically approving building in the coastal floodplain. And we know we completed the report a couple of years ago showing climate change projection. A lot of these properties will be affected by flooding in the future. So currently we still approve those, but limiting the liability to the regional district is the short way to say it. But like the municipalities and everybody else on the coast, I think in the long term, we'll have to do some extra thinking around our approval of those building in the floodplain. So in the long range planning, it's definitely a topic that's emerging, and I don't know if it's emerging in the municipalities as well. Thanks.
Thanks, Director Arbor and Director Morin.
Chair, this is just more of a point of order. Would you mind when you're introducing the recommendations, just doing a quick, one-liner as to what they're about? Just, I think it would be helpful for all our viewers at home. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. First day on the job, but I will absolutely make sure I'm doing that. I'm learning as I'm going. So the recommendation is on the floor. We've had a couple of comments. Well, it's a vote of the areas. All those in favor? All right, and that passes unanimously. And on to bylaws. And this is for first, second, and third reading. This is the Union Bay Water Service Establishment bylaw numbered 660.
Move first and second.
Move first and second reading has been moved and seconded. And all those in any discussion on that? All those in favor? All right,
Sorry, it should say third.
yeah, so that is, yeah, thank you. Okay, it's not, so third is being first and seconded. Any?
Sorry. Third, I see the authorized by director.
If I can. So there's actually 3 recommendations under that one. The second recommendation should actually say be given third reading. I think that's the motion that's on the floor right now.
The second clause, which is should say third reading. Okay, thanks for the clarification, staff. So with that clarified, all those in favor? All right, thank you very much.
That the amended bylaw be authorized by director consent.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, and yep.
Yeah, thanks. Can staff comment on this particular process of moving first and second and third and authorization? I know at the ESC last year, around a couple of issues, we didn't move everything in one meeting, but if staff can comment and also on the director consent, what that means in regards to this bylaw, that would be appreciated.
Over to staff. Lisa?
Great, yeah, thanks through the chair. So it's pretty typical for us to give 3 readings to a bylaw when it's introduced. This extra motion that you see here about director consent is just because we hadn't previously addressed this at the EASC. So it was just kind of covering off that this is the way the board agrees to proceed on obtaining consent for this bylaw. You'll see another one on the next bylaw right behind it.
Thank you.
And any further comments at this point? All right, and all those in favor? Thank you, and that passes unanimously. And
7, 9, 8, the first and second.
And bylaw number 798 is the Comox Valley Water Local Service Establishment Conversion Bylaw. And that's being moved for first and second reading. This is a vote of all directors. Any comments before we vote? All right, all those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Moved by Hillian, seconded by McCollum. So this is for third reading, and this is a vote of the full board. All those in favor? All right, and that passes unanimously. Okay, director consent, and any comments on this? All those in favor?
It's consensual.
All right, and that is, there's a lot of voting today. I'm going to get a lot of practice on this, so that I'll get it right by the end. All right, so the next recommendation is for bylaw number 799, the Union Bay Water Service Parcel Tax Bylaw. And first and second has been moved and seconded. Any comments on that? And all those in favor? All right, and now for third reading. Third is moved by Grant, seconded by McCollum. No, seeing no lights on. All those in favor? Okay, and that passes unanimously. The next is bylaw number 800, Union Bay Water Tolls and Other Charges Bylaw 278. Okay, first and second has been moved by Grieve and then Grant. And it's a vote of the full board. All those in favor? Thank you. That passes unanimously. And the third reading? Moved by Grant, seconded by Arbor. No lights on, so we'll move to voting. All those in favor? That also passes unanimously. Next is bylaw number 801, the Comox Valley Water Local Service Area Parcel Tax Bylaw 2001. Moved by Grant, seconded by Arbor. This is a vote of the areas. All those in favor? Director Tillian, you're not a member of the areas, are you? That's okay. But I appreciate the collegiality of that. And then for third reading. Okay, that was Grant and Arbor yet again. Any comments? So that's a vote of the areas once again. All those in favor? Okay, thank you. All right, and this is again a vote of the areas. All those in favor? Oh, sorry. Actually, sorry. I think Director Grieve, you moved 801, the third reading a second time. We're actually now on 802, which is Comox Valley Water Systems Regulation Fees and Charges Bylaw. And first and second moved by Director Arbor, seconded by Grant. And this is also a vote of the areas. All those in favor? And for third reading, Arbor and Grant, and this is a vote of the areas. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. We'll move on to bylaw number 803, which is the Royston Water Service Parcel Tax Bylaw 2010.
Second.
Arbor and Grant, switching it up from Grant and Arbor. All right, and Director Arbor.
Yeah, thanks. We're passing a lot of our water bylaws, obviously, for the areas, but for Royston, I would highlight, we are seeing some increases, which requires amendments to the bylaw. For Royston, we're going to move from Cumberland Water to Comox Lake Water, and with that is a fairly large capital infrastructure project, as well as aging infrastructure. So that is why you're seeing the ability to increase tax rates beyond what was the set maximum before. So I just thought I'd mention that. Thanks.
Thanks for that kind of context, Director Arbor. So I believe that that was for first and second reading. It is being moved and seconded. And so that's on the floor. It's a vote of the whole board. So all those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, I think that was Hillian and Grant for third reading, and it's a vote of the full board. All those in favor? Okay. And next is bylaw number 804, Royston Water Service Regulation Fees and Charges Bylaw 2010. Moved by Arbor, seconded by Hillian. It's a vote of the full board. Any comments? All right, all those in favor? And now third reading. That was Grant and Arbor, and see no lights on. So all those in favor? And that passes unanimously. And we've done 9 and 10. So this brings us to new business. Island Rail Corridor Regional Working Group meetings. We've got some correspondence dated November 2nd from Director Arbor regarding. Okay, that's for receipt. And Director Arbor, you'd like to speak that, I imagine.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. This is an item at obviously the discretion of the board. So you've been updated on the Island Corridor, and yesterday I attended the first working group meeting. So we've divided the Island Corridor into 4 regions, one to CRD, the other one Parksville to Langford. That meeting is later this week. Another one from Parksville to Courtney, and the other one from Parksville to Port Alberni. Each of these working groups are tasked with looking at reversion of land where it applies, and also the future planning in the future for the corridor around opportunities, constraints, and the rest of it. I've reached out to staff to see if this could be discussed at the board. Typically, external appointments deal with board meetings, and even though, as far as I understand, staff can comment, even though I understand it can extend to other meetings. Typically, we don't do that, and I never have done that. But these working group meetings are actually going to take quite a bit of time to dig in. And I will do these meetings regardless as to whether the compensation bylaw applies. But if the board is willing to entertain some form of recognition of the time I'll invest in that, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, Director Moore.
Thanks, Chair.
Sorry, Director Hillian. Sorry.
I just wasn't 100% clear from the correspondence why the Island Corridor wouldn't cover this. I think you made some reference to it, but it wasn't 100% clear to me. So I just appreciate some expansion on that, please.
Yeah, thanks. I can. So a little while back, I stopped claiming for Island Corridor board because the Island Corridor did start providing some expenses for travel and such. So I've stopped putting those on my sheets. I could go to the Island Corridor. You're correct, but the Island Corridor is also not in the best shape financially. We're treading water though, but I could definitely go as chair and ask if that could be entertained. I think for our regional district to cover it, as you know, our efforts at the Island Corridor Foundation has resulted in over $18 million coming to regional district and First Nations, and the Island Corridor got basically nothing in terms of capacity, enhanced capacity. We got some money for maintenance. That's about it. So there's a lot of money sitting at regional districts and nations. So it's fine if people don't want to do it. It's just I just realized the how much work is going to be demanded, and I thought I'd bring it forward to the board. I would also mention that this made me think that maybe we want to look at our remuneration policy. I know at Strathcona Regional District last year, there was a big controversy because the director was claiming, without coming to the board, it was within the bylaws after a full investigation was done, but I wanted to be transparent. I understand I could claim directly, but I prefer not to and have board's blessing or not. Thanks.
Thanks. And Director Morin.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to lend my support for this. I think Director Arbor has been a really amazing representative on this in this regional group, and I've seen more traction in the last while than I did in the early part of last term, and I think that Director Arbor does deserve some credit for that, representing us well there. So I would be, I mean, it looks like it's not like he's flying to, Toronto every week. They're pretty local areas. I don't think it's going to add up to too much. Just, maybe be cool with not too much steak and lobster or whatever. But anyway, I'm supportive of this. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Director Morin and Director Hardy.
Yeah, thanks. First and foremost, thank you, Director Arbor, for attending the Island Rail Corridor meetings. I too, I guess, kind of similar opinion to Director Hillian in regards to, if you're the co-chair of the Island Corridor Foundation, why the CBRD would be covering the costs when if you are the vice chair or co-chair of the organization, why that particular organization wouldn't be covering your costs. So I'm just kind of curious about that.
Director Arbor.
Yeah, good question. I would mention that for most of our external appointments, it's not the host organization that pays. Typically, it's us that pay under the remuneration bylaws. For example, any appointments on our local committees or all the rest of it, it's usually the CVRD that covers because they tend to be smaller organizations. I'm quite happy. And I did say that the Island Corridor did start reimbursing for expenses recently. So I'd be quite happy to withdraw if there's not interest in this. It's also an opportunity for me to talk about the good work happening there. So that was part of it. I wanted to let the board know that this is going to be an activity I'll be involved in for the next number of months. Thanks. And I don't know if staff wants to comment on, because I'm the one who stated that it's in according with our bylaws, but maybe staff wants to comment on whether I'm accurate on that or not.
Jake, do you want to weigh in on this? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I don't have much to offer. I think Director Arbor has aptly put it that essentially the remuneration is eligible where the entity that the director has been appointed to does not provide such a remuneration or expense coverage. So that's where the bylaw provides. And in this case, this is not the unique circumstance of this, I think, is that the entity that's organizing this is generally the Ministry of Transportation. So it's not a meeting of being organized by the Island Corridor Foundation, in which case then this would clearly fit within the bounds of the bylaw. So it's a bit of a confirmation of essentially the interpretation of the bylaw in which the board is considering now. So yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Great, thanks for that clarification. And Director Hardy.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification, Jake. So I guess I'm just wondering again, when Director Arbor goes to these meetings, is he going there representing Comox Valley Regional District, or is he going there representing the Island Corridor as the co-chair?
Director Arbor.
Thanks. I'm a member rep for the Comox Valley Regional District, but I am attending those meetings in a co-chair role.
All right, well, We were, I think, still on receipt at this point, so we'll just maybe dispense with that. So all those in favor of receipt? And that passes unanimously. Moved by Hilly and seconded by McCollum. And does anyone want to speak specifically on the requested action? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, any opposed? Okay, and that passes unanimously. And at this point, I think we would move in camera. Okay.